Okay, yesterday we saw a Mishnah that was discussing the cases where a person would be tameh, but nonetheless it would not override his naziris. It would not override his naziris. So we discussed schachai surprise, which were trees or protrusions from buildings which had a mace underneath one of them, and the nazir walked underneath one of them, and you're not sure which one. A beis hapras, which was a field that was with a kever in it that was plowed over, Eretz Amim, and we were up to Eretz Amim. Eretz Amim spoke out that 80 years before the Korban Bayis Sheni, they would go to Tumah on Eretz Amim, and we had a shaila whether in Eretz Amim is it were the guys are on the land or on the gush, on the ear or on the gush. What does that mean? That the ear itself is tameh. In other words, to facilitate a koyeh never leaving Eretz Yisrael, to facilitate a kohen never leaving Eretz Yisrael, because again you have to worry about Tumah. They were geyser being in the airspace, just being in the airspace, even if you didn't have to worry about Tumah's mace whatsoever, it would be Tameh. So this would be a tremendous deterrent for the kohen leaving Eretz Yisrael. Or no, were they geyser on the gush, because again they didn't demarcate their graves, and any place there could have been Tumah, and then it's classic Tumah's mace, and Memela, if you would have a hafsaka between, it would be a barrier, and they wouldn't be tamei. So the nafkamina would be if they would enter the airspace of Eretz Yisrael, if Eretz Amim, if they'd enter the airspace of Eretz Amim, if they would it would enter with in a shida teva migdal, which would be a barrier. If it's als avir, it's the airspace, they're going to be tamei. It has nothing to do whatsoever with a barrier. But if it's the gush, that's the din and mace, then what? Then it would be a barrier, and it would stop him from contracting tumah. That would be the difference in the two. What? Yeah. We had it a while ago. So now the Gemara wanted to suggest now. The Gemara wanted to bring a raya from our Mishnah. Our Mishnah said that that if anyone who's in our Mishnah, the halachas were that you would need to have hazah of day 3 and day 7, right? You'd have to have a zah of day 7, which is equating to Tumas Mace. Only Tumas Mace requires day 3 and day 7. So the assumption was any list of the hierarchy of the things in the Mishnah would require a day 3 and day 7, including Eretz Amim. Clearly, therefore, it will be a din in Gush and a din in Tumas Mace rather than in Avir. And we answered that's not true, that the din of 3 and 7 were going on some of the other things that were mentioned, and not all of them. And the raya is that if kliates would touch a mace, the kliates would be tamei tumas mace. However, if a person touched it, he would only be tamei to the evening, and not 3 and 7. So just like the 3 and 7 wasn't going on the kli that touched the mace, so too it's not going on eretz ha'amim, and therefore you had no raya. The Gemara now today is going to suggest that it's a machloikis tanoim, whether it's als eretz ha'amim or it's whether it's als avir or it's als what? It's als gush. So in order to make things clearer and easier, let's go through it outside. I put together a little chart, and let's see if it makes any sense. Okay. Okay. Again, here's the case. A person's being nichnas into eretz amim in a shida teva migdal. He's entering in a shida teva migdal. So he's being carried in a box into chutz la'aretz. Rabbi says he's tamei. Rabbi says he's tamei, and Rabbi Yehuda says he's tahar. What's the machlokes? According to Rabbi, it's tamei. It must be because Rabbi says eretz amim is mitum of avira. The airspace will be matama. So therefore, the shida teva migdal could not save him. There's no barrier. You're in the airspace. Once you're in the airspace, you're tamei. Versus Rabbi Yehuda says the tahar. It must be mishum gusha. It must be because of what? Of the gush. And therefore he is tahar. Because why? He has the barrier of the shida teva migdal. So now we can be paishit that it's machlokes tanoim. Rabbi is saying tamei, it's as avir. Rabbi Yehuda says because from gusha it's a din in mace. 3 terutzim, in other words, I can go ahead and say no, it's not true. I could say kuli alma says me some gusha. Everyone says that's gush. So the question is, if it's gush, why would Rabbi Yehuda says it's tahar? So it depends. This shida teva migdal is movable. It's moving. It's called an oil zaruk, an oil that's moving, an oil that's moving, a plane, a train, a box being carried. It's moving. Is an oil zaruk an oil or not? That would go ahead and explain the machlokes, and not depending upon avir or gush. In other words, everyone can hold it's a din in mace. Everyone says the gezer is because the guys are on the gush, on the actual land. The one that says tameh, it makes a lot of sense. Why? The oil that he's in is not an oil because it's moving, it's being moved, and therefore it's tameh. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda says no, the oil, whether it's stagnant or it's moving, would be a good oil, meaning it would be a good barrier, and therefore it is tahar. It's shmei oil zarik shmei oil. Oil azarik is called a good oil. Since it's a good oil, and the tamazal's gush, it's a barrier from the gush, and therefore you'll be tahar. So you're not locked into saying the machlokes between Rebbe and Rabbi Yossi is the machlokes between Aver and Gush. Everyone can hold of Gush. Everyone can hold of Gush. And the reason is a totally different reason, either as oil zarik or lav zarik. A third way to say that it's not contingent upon the machlokes from avira gusha would be everyone holds as als avira. Again, this pshat, everyone holds als gush. Everyone holds als avira, and oil zarik is loishmei oil. So it's not a good barrier. It's not a good barrier, and then it's b'shem avira. So therefore, guys, outside, if there's no barrier, and that's als avir, everyone should hold its tameh. Again, there's no reason for it to be tar. You have no barrier because a moving oil is not an oil. And even if it was an oil, we don't care. Why? Because of the avir. Because if it's als avir, the oil doesn't come into play. The oil only comes to play if it's gush. I don't know, right? I wrote over here, oil, I guess because of this. Anyway, Rebbe holds it's tameh. It's why he's worried that even though it's not shchiach for a person to be carried in a shida teva migdal, these are not the common. This is not a common thing to be carried in. So therefore, nonetheless, even though it's not shchiach, you geyser, and Rabbi Yehuda says no. Since it's not shchiach for a person to be carried in these things, you're not geyser. Since it's not shchiach for a person to be carried in these things, you're not geyser. Bottom line is, you're not locked into saying it's machlokes between aver and gush. So again, the first upshlag, it could be gush. The second upshlag, it could be als avir. It could be als avir. Okay, let's go to the third one. Okay, the last one, I don't think I can. The last one, yeah, let's get it over here. Everyone says it's been gush. Everyone says it's als gush, and with the paper. Everyone says als gush, the oil zorik shmei oil. Everyone would say it's because of gush and oil zorik shmei oil. So let's guys outside. If it's gush, it's a din in mace. If the oil zorik is considered a good oil, then everyone should hold its tahar. You have the barrier. So what's the reason? Rebbe is geyser mishum shema yotzi roishe v'rubai. Maybe you're going to go ahead and stick your hand out. Or since it's a tumah d'rabbanan, it's going to be you have to stick your hand roishe v'rubai. If it's tumah d'raisa, even one hand will do the job. Okay, and he says they're not geyser. He says they're not geyser. So this would be a way of explaining that the Mishnah, that what you want to suggest that it's machlokes tanoim. In fact, I have other ways explaining the machlokes, and in fact, it's not a machlokes tanoim. Whether it's gush or avir, it could either be all gush or avir, and everything will work out. Let's see it inside. Nun hey amin aleph. Leimikit tanoim. Let's say it's a machlokes tanoim. Whether it's gush or als avir. Anichnas the Eretz Ha'amim, b'shida teva migdal. Someone enters into Eretz Ha'amim and shida teva migdal. Rebbe mitama. Rebbe would say it's tameh. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda mitaher. And Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda would say it's tahar. My love, Rebbe Sava mishum avira. Rebbe says it's tameh, even though you're in a shida teva migdal, it's not going to help you because the gezer laws mishum avira of the airspace. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda Sava mishum gusha. He says it's als gush, and therefore what? It would help to be in a shida teva migdal, which would be a barrier to the gush. Says Merloi, that's not the pshat. The kulyalma mishum gusha. Everyone would hold it's als gush. Everyone would hold, and therefore the one who's shver is the one that says it's tamei, because you're in a shita teva migdal. It should be a good barrier. Masava oil zarik shmei oil. According to Rabbi Yehuda, he holds oil zarik shmei oil. Since oil zarik shmei oil and it's gush, you have a barrier, you're tahar. Well, Masava, however, Rabbi's of the opinion, loy shmei oil, an oil that's moving is not a good oil. Therefore, you don't have any barrier between you and the tumah, and therefore it would be tamei. Now, the Gemara is going to question and say that's not a feasible explanation, because we're going to see that Rabbi Yehuda holds oil zarik loy shmei oil, and therefore if he holds low shmei oil, you don't have a barrier. Again, your teretz is predicated on that he holds shmei oil, and therefore you have a barrier. But if he has low shmei oil, then you don't have a barrier. But Tanya, Gemara asks the kasha, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, teva shahayim aleya kalim, a teva that was full of kalim, and this teva was large enough to be a barrier. The zarka al pnei mace, and you throw it over a mace for oil, tamei will be tamei. Why? Because it's moving. So what do you see he holds? He holds oil zarik loy shmei oil. So it's untenable the pshat that you just wanted to go ahead and suggest that that's the source of machlokes. However, and now longer it's no longer moving. Then tahira it would go ahead and be a good oil. So again, while we saw guys in this chart, this possible teretz is not a good teretz, right? This possible teretz is not a good teretz, because you want to say that Rabbi Yehuda says oil zarik shmei oil. You see from a brayso he holds low shmei oil, and therefore you're going to have to come to another suggestion, right? This isn't true. He holds oil zarik is low shmei oil, so this is not true, and that's why you had to go, guys. That's why you had to say over here. Look, remember I asked you, Kulyalma mishum avira. Look, the third one, Shimon. This one, Kulyalma mishum avira. Everyone holds Kulyalma because it's avir, and oil zarik loy shmei oil. So therefore, everyone should hold its tamei. Good. Why did they have to say oil zarik loy shmei oil? Because we have a brayso that says that's where Rabbi Yehuda holds. We have a brayso saying that he holds that. So therefore, what's the next explanation? Elot Kulyalma mishum avira. Everyone says als avir, right? Everyone says als avir. And oil is zarik loy shmei oil. It's not shchiach for a person to go into a shida teva migdal. Guys, picture it. Yeah, someone's carrying you in an egg crate into Eretz Amim. You picture such a thing. You put yourself in an egg crate and you're carrying in a box. Remember the old days, they used to have like the slaves carrying a person on poles. Like that's the normal thing. Shida teva migdal is a kli. It's a big kli. It's a very strange thing. It's not the norm. So since it's not shchiach, the Rabbi Yehuda says the Rabbanon Geyser, and therefore what it's tahar. And Rabbi would hold, even though it's not common, nonetheless they would geyser tumah on Eretz Avir and they'll be tamei. Now Vatanya here is a proof. Vatanya, this is that they would geyser or not geyser by a shchiach thing. And nichlas Eretz Amim b'shida teva migdal, which is like shchiach, right? Someone's nichlis be'eretz amim b'shidav teva migdal, which is like shchiach, right? What's the din? The din is what it is tahar. Why is it tahar? Because it's like shchiach. B'koroin u'b'svina u'b'askaria. These are the normal means of transportation. Tamei, that will be tamei. So you just substantiated, guys. You just substantiated this third pshat. You just substantiated this pshat by bringing a brisa that in shida teva migdal. That's tahar. Why? Because you're not geyser. That's so it works out. So far we've held serve. Everything is geshmak to explain that the machlokes between the two is not contingent upon gush for avir. It's either could be either all gush or avir, and I'm able to explain it side by side. Final way to explain it. Everybody saying a fourth way. Everyone holds out gush. Everyone holds out gush, and you're entering. You're entering in the shida teva migdal, and it could be shchiach, the whole thing. It's not a problem, right? But what's the reason? Because oil zarik would be shmei oil. It would be a good oil. So if it's al gush and shmei oil, guys, why is it tahar? Why is it tamei? Because Rebbe's geyser, maybe you might go ahead and this, since it's tumah d'Rabbanan, we might be geyser that you will go ahead and stick your hands out. And Rabbi Yehuda says, no, we're not worried.
But didn't you say already that Rabbi Yehuda holds that moving oil is like shmei oil?
Right?
Didn't you already say that Rabbi Yosef Bar Yehuda holds that a moving oil is loy shmei oil?
Yeah, I did.
So how does that fit here?
Yeah, so you could say even if you hold low shmei, what? So how does that fit over here? Okay, I have to look into it. It's a good
So
kasha.
isn't that also like a sveka, right?
No,
If it's
it's
gush,
not a suffix. These are all the Rabbanan, Heshi. These are din the Rabbanan. These are din the Rabbanan. Okay, Shra, you'll have time to look at the Taisus. Okay, he discusses it. Okay, we have 4 ways to explain why it's not a machlokes. 4 ways to explain why it's not a machlokes. Totally depend, or 3 ways that it's not dependent upon whether it's avir or what, or whether it's gush. Now, what did the Mishnah say? The Mishnah said, "Umaskul moinim miyad." Okay, we're going to begin today. It's a difficult, just a little cheshbon. I guess I'm not so good with cheshbon, mathematical cheshbon, so for me it's difficult. For certain people, it won't be so difficult. Okay, the Mishnah said the following, that when these scenarios, and we're going on b'mei sipuroi u'b'mei gomroi. So guys, take a look at me. There's nothing to look at. There's an explanation, and again, let's get this straight. This is what we know. A person is a vaday mitzayra. That means he went to a kohen. The kohen saw that he is a mitzayra. He sent him out of 3 machnos. Kohen shows up a while later, and the nega is gone. The nega is gone. He's going to take a body shave and do something with birds. The main thing is he takes a body shave. 7 days later, now, the days that he is away, that he's sequestered away, are called bimei gomroi. Now, after the body shave and the birds outside the machne, he's going to wait another 7 days. He's going to take a body shave, and he's going to be in kabbanas on day 8. Good? So we said those days will not override his naziris, but they won't count to his naziris. They won't override his naziris, but they won't count towards naziris. In other words, the kohen basically, the nazir is in a state of suspended animation. He's in a state of suspended animation. Good. And what's going to happen? So let's give an example. He was a nazir. Stam naziris is how many days? Shleishim yom. Stam naziris is 30 days. He goes ahead, he keeps 10 days of his naziris or 20 days of naziris, and all of a sudden, shoini becomes what? A nazir. Become a mitzayra. So let's say he kept 20 days. He now becomes a mitzayra. He's gonna have to go through. He's gonna cut his hair off after he gets cleared up and everything. And now he just finishes. And on the 7th day, before he, and there's no kabbanas now. Again, no, there is kabbanas for the mitzayra, right? And he's going to start counting immediately. He's going to start count. No, excuse me. It says over here that the korban ein loy be made. So this is Mesi Puroi. So Mesi Puroi, there is a korban afterwards. Okay, but anyway, let's go. So let's say there is a korban afterwards, and it's going to start counting. Yes, he's going to start counting his naziris. How many days is he going to count? If the days were not uprooted, you'd say he only needs 10 more days because he counted 20, right, guys? Stam naziris is shleishim yom. He took 20 days. He took time off for his mitzayra, and now he only has 10 more days. But that's not true, because anytime he's megaleach, he's got to go ahead and count the full 30 days. Gadol pera, kodesh yiyeh, 30 days. Guys, this is Nazir 101. We know Nazir is that what? Stama chup is 30 days. So that can't be pshat in our Mishnah, because in our Mishnah, it's going to override the Naziris, not because of Tumah that did away with it, a practical reason. He needs 30 days to grow his hair. It's very important to make a chilik between stopping Naziris completely because you're tummy tumas mace, and that's the only thing that can override Naziris. But sometimes for practical reasons, the Naziris is overridden because of a haircut dikadin, a nazir dikadin. Again, look at the scenario I just gave you. He was Makabel Stam Naziris for 30 days. He kept 20 of them. And then he became a Mitzayra. Then he took a haircut. So at the end of whatever time he took a haircut, you're stopping over here. How many days does he have left to his Naziris? 10 days. But he, from that 10 days, is going to have to count another 30 because he needs 30 days to grow his hair. So for all intents and purposes, that would have overridden the 20 days that he already kept. Got it? So therefore, that can't be the din of our Mishnah. Our Mishnah must be speaking about a longer period of Naziris where what? So let's go to the other extreme, guys, the other extreme. He was a Nazir for 100 days. He was Makabel Naziris for 100 days, right? He kept 40 days of Naziris, 40 days. On the 40th day, he becomes a Mitzayra. He gets cleaned up by day 70. He has 30 days left. What's the halacha? He keeps 30 days and he's finished. So in this case, fellas, the days of his Mitzayra did count to the Naziris. He wasn't in a state of suspended animation. So if you go to two extremes, in one, it is overturned for practical reasons, and the other one, it's not overturned at all. So what's the case of our Mishnah where it's suspended animation, meaning it doesn't count, and you can finish in Naziris without it counting? What exactly is that case? Good. Says the Gemara, it's going to be a guy who was Makabel Naziris for 50 days. He was Makabel Naziris for 50 days. So what? He went ahead, but on day 20, he was a Mitzayra. Whatever time it takes to go ahead, right? It's finished. When he finishes taking care of that, he's going to have 30 days left. So therefore, those days did not count to his Naziris either way. He kept 20. The fact that his Mitzayra didn't override the Naziris, then he has 30 days at the end to finish his Naziris. So that will be the case, a very specific case. If it's too short, it's overridden the days. If it's too long, the days of Mitzayra counts. This is the days of the suspended animation that doesn't stop anything at all. 20 days he kept, suspended no longer, 30 days at the end, you got your 50. Guys, you got it? Clear. Okay, very nice. Let's see it inside. Umaskol umayna. Rav Chisda. Loishanu ella b'naziris mu'etes. Right? When do we say that what? That it's suspended animation of the Mitzayra muchlit, the Mitzayra set aside, that's a Naziris of 30 days. Aval b'naziris meruba, if it's a Naziris of 100 days, misalik l'solik, it's also going to count towards the days of his Naziris. Master of Shravya, Maskul u'moyna miyad, ve'in mevatel esa koidmin. So you begin counting your Naziris after you get cleansed up, and it's not mevatel the previous days. B'mai, what are you speaking about? Ilema b'naziris muetes. If you're speaking about stam Naziris, that's 30 days. Kaboy gidel seir. You need gidel seir, and it will override the Naziris. Again, just outside again, one more time, guys. He's Makabel Naziris for 30 days. He keeps 20 of them. So therefore, he finished, and then he becomes a Mitzayra. He finishes in the Mitzayra. What are you going to say? He needs another 10 days? He doesn't need another 10 days. He needs another 30 days. So it does override. It does away with the complete Naziris that he took place. So that can't be the case of Naziris Muetas that Rabbi Chisda is discussing on the days. Okay, guys, we're doing the Tosfos now instead of the Daf. Okay. I don't want you to feel so. Elalav bin Naziris Meruba. It's speaking a Naziris what of 100 days. The Ketoni Maskul Umayna Miyad, and you're going to say that what he counts right away, meaning and it's not going to go ahead and l'chayra, it's going to take care of everything. You know, it's going to take care of all of his Naziris. So what do you mean that what that Maskul Umayna Miyad to begin to add on to the previous count, but this whole he's not even counting. He's not starting his count from there because the Mitzvah is going to be part of the count since he has 30 days afterwards. So Humaisivla, Rav Shravya asked the question, Humafarikla, and Rav Shravya is going to answer the question. B'Naziris Bas Chamishim Yoim, when it's speaking about Naziris of 50 days, the Yosef Esrim, he kept 20 days. Visyalid Beit Tzuras, and now what? He became a Mitzayra, and whatever days that are amount, Megaleach Tzuratoi, he's going to Megaleach for Tzuras. How many days does he have left for his Naziris, guys? 30. V'hada Yosef Tilsin Yoim the Nazir, the Isle Gidel Seir, because he has Gidel Seir. That would be 30 days. So that would be the case of our Mishnah. The case of our Mishnah would be that Reb Chisda Leishanu, that where Leishanu, the exact case of Mu'etes, where it would not count towards the Naziris, nor be overridden by the Naziris, would be a Naziris of 50 days. He counts 20 days of his Naziris, becomes a Mitzvah for X amount of time, finishes that. How many days does he have left in his Naziris? 30 days. How long does it take to go ahead and grow hair? 30 days. So in this case, the 20 count towards the 50. The amount of time as he was a Mitzvah doesn't count at all, and it doesn't override the 20, and therefore he finishes with 30. Okay, we'll continue Be'ez Hashem tomorrow in Shul, this sugya.